Community Matters is kindly sponsored by Connemara Credit Union Limited, incorporating Clifton, Tullycross and Carna branches. Connemara Credit Union is here to serve the people of the Connemara area. Main office, Clifton and Tullycross branch, 095 21101.
Gia bhéistear go léir agus céad fáilte roimh seach an chlár seo. Chlár Community Matters é agus chlár speisialta é inniu. Táid críla mar as gná ar 87.8 is céad sa 6.1 FM. Agus ar an idirlinn freisin táid ar www.connemarafm.com. Agus mas míleh glíos seachuigna ná mi richan glár nó a rithna seachtain ar freisin ba fáte fíor chuoin roimh i gcónaí. Agus sé á rihar ná ceathar a héana is sé a héana is sé. Tá aana speisialta sa stúdio linn inniu agus cuirí Kevin ana orthú gan cúpla nóid. Agus tá sé mar dúirt sé chlár anna speisialta mar chlár é don fóthachánna ba ag teachthúgin an seachtain seachúgin ar dar lá fiche sin bhí seo. So táid ag olbhú dó sin. Agus tásúla agam go maiine sibh go léir tainmh as an glár inniu agus go mbeidh sé simúil jibh nó cuideide ar aon nos. So a ráile Kevin.
Thank you very much, Camille. Okay, all 17 candidates were contacted, 17 candidates running in the Galway by-election, to take part in our show, and the following have kindly joined us this evening. We have AJ Cahill from the Irish People Party. We have Sean Kine, Senator with Fine Gael. We have Killian Kane, Councillor with Fianna Fáil. We have Thomas Welby, Councillor Independent. We have Orlan Nugent with Ain 2. And we have Sheila Garrity with who's independent, and we also have Mike Cubbard, independent Mayor of Galway, to give you a proper title as well, Mike. And joining us on Zoom, we should have Noel Thomas, councillor, Galway County Councillor with Independent Ireland, and Mark Lohan with Sinn Féin. I think I've got that much right. So we're just going to have a quick introduction with the candidates, and we'll go from our left to right in the studio maybe first. The candidates would just give you a couple of minutes maximum, so take as long as or short as you like within the 2 minutes. We won't mind. You've probably been introducing yourselves a lot the last couple of weeks, and explain why maybe you're running in the 2026 Galway by-election. So we'll start with AJ Cahill, if that's okay, AJ.
My name is AJ Cahill of the Irish People Party. A few years ago, I walked away from my career because I could no longer ignore what was happening to our country. Like many of you, I watched as ordinary Irish people were pushed to the back of the queue while every aspect of our nation was dismantled. Young couples locked out of buying or renting homes, families crushed by rising costs, farmers and workers treated not as the backbone of this country, but as obstacles and tax slaves. People across Ireland are waking up to the fact that they are being treated with contempt. I began speaking out because I believe something simple. Ireland belongs to the Irish people and no one else. For saying that, I've been attacked, censored, cancelled and received death threats. But if asking basic questions makes you dangerous, then perhaps those in charge are afraid of the answers. There is a movement growing in Ireland. It is not about hate. It's about whether Ireland will remain a country where ordinary Irish people can afford a home, raise a family, feel safe and have a homeland of their own. I believe our nation matters. I believe our culture matters. And I believe there's nothing wrong with saying so openly and unapologetically. What has happened here is happening across Europe and the Western world, the systematic erosion of unique nations, using our own empathy as a weapon against us. Let's be clear, the government created this housing crisis. Many of you feel conflicted about discussing the link between mass migration and housing. You don't want to be seen as a bad person, but you must give yourself the permission to face reality. In recent years, hundreds of thousands of people have arrived here while we already faced a severe housing shortage. Until emigration is brought under control, nothing fundamental will change. The media, the NGOs and the political establishment have serious questions to answer. Loving your own country does not make you extreme. Wanting secure borders does not make you hateful. Wanting home, safety and opportunity for your own people should never be controversial. Ireland has survived famines, occupation, poverty and waves of immigration.
Thank you, AJ. I think we're close to the 2 minutes there, and we will get to more of the points. Are we almost at the end?
Because our people have never given up. We will not give up now. The future of this country does not belong to the political insiders. It belongs to the Irish people.
Thank you very much, AJ, and sorry for interrupting. We're going to be on the clock. I have Gráinne, our station manager, with us. Thanks very much, Gráinne, and she's going to be the timekeeper. So thank you.
Or AJ, you want to come in on that?
Yeah, so when I look at costs and I'm talking to people, it sort of comes down to two areas. One, the costs are sort of around energy. In other words, whether you're manufacturing stuff, it's all gone energy costs, utilities, fuel, heating, diesel, transport, and the other is housing. Now, during the storms there we had in recent times where electricity was lost, a lot of people suddenly realised not having a fireplace because you're not allowed to anymore is a pretty dumb idea. Not being able to buy fuel or advertise turf or sell it, it's now illegal. So we've backed ourselves into corners, that we didn't need to go into, and it's caused great hardship. When you look at the taxes that have gone on, solid fuels, all fuels, they just delayed the tax there on the diesel till later on in the year. So we're taxing ourselves, we're creating these costs ourselves, but also blocking the exits.
Isn't delaying the taxes and delaying the increases in those, isn't that a help to everybody?
Yeah, it's a help. But why do they exist in the first place? Because we're deindustrialising Europe. All you got to do is look at the data for CO2 emissions worldwide. You'll see it's exploding all over the world, and you'll see it's collapsing in Europe. So Europe right now is on a death spiral for deindustrialisation, and it's taking its people with it, and it's torturing them as it does. On the housing side of things, that's the biggest cost anyone puts out. And, we could talk quite a while on why housing is so expensive.
Yeah, we'll come back to housing in a while. Sean, you want a quick comment? I have to go back to Orla.
Yeah, just on that, and I presume AJ is talking about the carbon tax. The carbon tax has a number of uses. It's put into a number of uses, including the acre scheme for farmers, of which many Connemara farmers are so reliant. Home retrofit schemes, of which some 18,000 people across Galway have benefited since 2020, and also fuel allowance and poverty protection, which a fuel allowance is. We've extended that for 4 weeks as part of this €750 million package as well. So I mean, look, tax is never popular. No one likes paying tax. No one likes paying more tax. But we also need tax to fund services, whether it be our schools, our Gardaí, our army, our carers payments, our social protection budgets, of which there's over €20 billion, and that includes disabilities, carers. We've given a commitment to government to remove the means test for carers in the lifetime of this government, and first phase of that will come in July. So all that costs money. So it's not just about reducing taxes, about where that tax is spent as well.
If the tax is redistributed among the people, then it's justified.
Just one comment on that.
Sorry, quick comment, AJ, again.
Yeah,
quick.
Taxes.
We have to take an ad.
Yeah, taxes aren't a poverty protection measure; they're a poverty creation measure. So you do them very lightly or not at all.
Sorry, AJ.
Taxes aren't a poverty protection measure. Taxes are a poverty creation measure.
That's your opinion, okay.
I think AJ did, yeah.
Sorry, AJ.
Yeah,
because we want to get on to the next subject. But AJ, yes, you haven't talked for a while, so we'd definitely like to hear from you. Yeah,
okay. So my father was a county council engineer, and I spent a lot of time in the 70s sitting on the side of the road doing my homework as they were laying out the N17 and these places. And, you got to remember where we've come from and to where we are now in roads is remarkable in the time it's been done. I'd often give this lad beside me some elastic, Mr. Coyne, but, people like that have done stuff with the bypass, but there's a lot more to be done. But the issue isn't money. The issue is the approach and logic of the people involved. Like I remember, when I used to work for Connemara when it was a semi-state, and when we were doing a project, we really felt we were doing it for the people of Ireland. It was that sense for the guy up the side of a mountain. And I think, I'm looking at you, Tom, and you know what I'm talking about. 20, 30 years ago. And we need to get back to that social cohesion. And that's based on values. And it's also based on logic. And when we were in Galway at the Chamber there a few days ago, they were asking, how do we solve derelict buildings? And I walked away amazed, because the entire of Galway was redone with Section 23. Entire Dublin was done. You know, we know these solutions, but what has happened? And what has happened is we've lost our values and we've lost our logic. You know, the values of Christianity, we threw that away, but shortly afterwards, our logic is gone now. So no amount of money is going to solve this. We need to reconnect with ourselves.
Okay, that's a very interesting point, AJ. I'll move on to the questions, because we're going to try and get...
AJ, you want to come in on
this? The housing. So I sort of split Connemara into two areas. So the Cushfarrig area, you know, the issue there is, it should be just really simple. If you're a native speaker and you're from there, you should be able to build. It should be just that simple. If you're serious about the language, it's that. But when it comes to the housing everywhere else, the biggest thing I met on the doors so far is fear. People are afraid they're going to be asked to leave by the landlord, or they're frustrated they can't move on, whether or they've split up from a relationship and they're stuck back home. And that is the housing crisis, whether you like it or not, is driven by demand. And the demand no one is talking about, which is, you know, this year 38,000 PPSs have been given out to non-nationals. Over the past, 5 years, it's 900,000. So you can't. It's a government-created housing crisis driven by immigration. So you got to stop it, and deal with it. If you don't, it's just going to get worse.
But isn't the government introducing measures now? Haven't they? The Minister for Justice, Jim O'Callaghan, has initiated, some measures against the immigrants who have been here pre-2024 and all of that. All of that, they will all make a difference.
No, they won't. They've introduced measures before. This is all lip service. They need to stop it and they need to reverse it. They need re-immigration.
Yeah. Can I introduce Sean?
Emergency care is so important. Are you on the side of these people? Do you think it's time they need to be recognised?
100%. There was one of my kids at a house party a few years ago, and someone collapsed at it, and they turned up, and the person was gone. They brought them back. And I've never seen anything like it. Like, they literally, suddenly a bedroom was turned into an intensive care unit in minutes. Given the road situation we just spoke about in Connemara, you treat these people like gold, otherwise they're heading for Australia. It's that simple.
Thanks, AJ. Ken, thanks for coming in on that. I know.
This is a question about how the government deals with different aspects of farming and agriculture, like the productive side of it and the people, the factories and all of that. And one is the Bord Bia. The fiasco there was there earlier last year when Larry Murn, who is still the CEO of a company and a Bord Bia, and he's running, or the owner of, a non-quality assured pharmaceutical or farming company. He was found to be selling Brazilian beef, in his burgers, in his meat that he was advertising as 100% Irish. That's that's kind of the synopsis of the story. That man is still ahead of Bord Bia. Can anybody tell me, in any other board or at any other CEO who would be running an operation like that, be still left in the position? And why, it said another thing he had was the beef procedures and all that. The Irish farmers have to produce organic beef, without, drugs, no hormones, no nothing. 170 kilos were tested recently of imported beef through the same man, and they contain growth hormones and antibiotics. And the antibiotics were banned here 25 years ago. So, thank you, AJ.
Yeah, just a very quick comment there. You mentioned this gentleman and, why is he still there? That issue, and nearly every issue we've discussed this evening, is down to, either ethics or morals. In other words, 30 years ago, that wouldn't have occurred. He would have went himself. It wouldn't be tolerated. But the same whether the capital expenditure in the children's hospital, the housing, priority of who gets housed, all these issues are down to, a faith value system. And when you get rid of that, in other words, get rid of how you govern society, what have you got? In other words, you got rid of Christianity. What rules are we living by now?
Okay. The person we're replacing in who is now the President of Ireland was in Labour, went independent. Democracy is another sign of it. AJ Cahill, I know you want to come in there. I haven't given you an awful lot of time this evening, but
so democracy. So what you see and what I see are two different things. So I thought originally I set up a media company. It was completely suppressed because I had the wrong views. I then set up a political party. We ran a lot of people. They got little to no coverage except for on stations like this. Local stations are great. But
Thank you very much.
Oh no, it's amazing. There's no thing that. So you see our posters, they're quite controversial because that's the only way we can get a message out because we were so suppressed. So with the Digital Services Act, and there was a recent US Congress report and hearings over the interference in elections in Europe, from Romania, where right through to Slovakia, to France, and particularly in Ireland. And it's a detailed report. So what they were doing was they have what are called trusted flaggers. With NGOs where they're flagging, they were getting the companies in and saying, you better block this, this, and this. But for some reason, in this election, we haven't been blocked. I don't know why. Okay. And suddenly our message is getting out there.
Okay, so that's a good thing, eh?
Yeah, that's good. But one other thing. So I found out recently I've designated what's called a politically exposed person. So what that means is I'm now a risk for banking, right? And they've told me that I'm a reputational risk. So a company I was associated was about to lose their banking because they thought I was involved with them. And I know people have been debanked. And I'm not violent. I've never committed a crime. This is the state of your democracy. If you got the right view, fine. If you got the wrong view, not fine. Now,
I think somebody else who's been somebody else
absolutely
Sean,
who's
30 seconds to say why you should be elected. Sorry, Kevin.
You've no microphone come.
Sorry, 30. We had lots of others.
Sorry.
Do we leave you out, AJ? Sorry, I thought we were first to you first.
Not to worry.
Sorry.
So I'm asking people to vote AJ Cahill, the Irish people. My message is one of love and hope for the Irish nation. My focus will be on housing, and particularly housing our own people first, protecting the nation, ending the asylum racket, and real support for family formations and economic relief for workers.
Thank you, AJ. Right. Now, we have a lot more questions and we have a lot more topics to discuss. So could you all please come back again tomorrow morning and we'll continue it further. Now, Kevin will finish us up.
Yeah, we're just going to sign off. Unable to attend due to prior engagements or conflicts, we had Niall Murphy from the Green Party, Helen Ogbu from Labour Party, and Maija, you're going to have to do it, Carmel, sorry. Maija. She's beautiful Irish, and well done for everybody learning Irish. I know, Sean, you did it later in life. I'm very jealous. I might want to meet some of your Irish teachers because I'm very bad. But Nija from the Social Democrats, Demon from People Before Profit, the four that weren't able to attend. We're going to thank everybody that attended the studio this evening, and Noel Thomas and Mark Lohan who came in earlier. You're very good for what you're doing and travelling around the country. I want you to drive safely back home now. Tell them everything about what's happening in Connemara when you go back to your councils or elected. One of you might very well be our next TD for the area, and we wish all of you the best luck in your political careers. We thank Gráinne on the desk who did very well, Breach on the research, Linda I think is out there, and all the staff that took calls, and all the listeners and everybody that wrote into us. I'm going to thank very much this lady beside me, Carmel, who did a fantastic job. And I'm your other host, Kevin Gavin, and it was a pleasure having you on. Keep listening to Connemara Radio. Keep sending us grant money, please, everybody. And
Sinne méidir go a nacht. Tasú le an gohain sib go léir tanabas an glár agus go rá sé simúldíb agus go ár néisteí go léir gur míle agus war fannacht len ar fe gáúir nó mar sin beis gáúir agus don íorthirí go léir go mai an tálaimh go léir agus baisib go mé could be denadíh a rénos a ráislen gan cúpla seachtainna chun díos borach a ríis len so go dtí an táim sin sláán agus spenach slibh go léir.
Community Matters was kindly sponsored by Connemara Credit Union Limited, incorporating Clifton, Tullycross and Carna branches. Connemara Credit Union is here to serve the people of the Connemara area. Main office, Clifton and Tullycross branch, 095 211 01.